guys, my name is Caden.
My name is Ruben.
We are some of the young people you hear in Podcast from the Edge.
We're so excited to tell you
About our newest podcast,
Party. Here is our trailer.
3, 2, 1, go.
When it comes to telling stories about grief and death and dying, it seems like there are two extremes.
On one hand, it can feel too personal and as a result, scary and overwhelming. On the other hand, there are stories about death everywhere in our popular culture. Think murder mysteries, horror movies, video games, action movies, novels and songs. There are references and stories that involve death and dying everywhere.
But maybe in many of those stories, death and dying are sort of separate from grief, because they are not personal to us.
And so it's just entertainment. Parting is one of our podcasts from the Edge, and in it we are going to try and sit in the middle between these two extremes. We are going to tell fictional stories that will talk about grief and death and dying. And we are going to have conversations where we try and talk about it.
But not in a way that's too personal or scary or overwhelming.
It's probably going to have some sadness in there, because that's what grief is.
But also some smiles and laughter and curiosity.
Because those things are also a part of grief and death and dying. So who are we? We are a group of young people who happen to live in these places that are considered disadvantaged.
So why would we talk about grief and death and dying?
You know what? One of the things about living in places that are considered disadvantaged is that people die younger. In some parts of our community, up to 10 years younger than the average.
And so grief and death and dying can touch people where we live more often, and sometimes because they are younger, with more trauma than say if you were to live in a more advantaged place. So it's kind of important for us to be able to talk about it.
Well, actually, all of us could benefit from it, hey? Because death and dying and grief will touch us all no matter where we live.
And because grief is not only associated with death and dying, but with a whole range of the hardships and difficulties that people can face in their lives, then maybe if we can talk about grief, we might find out that we are not alone.
And find the ways that grief might help us through those difficulties and hardships.
I guess we will find out, and we hope you might join us while we do. On our podcast, Parting.